You can sense the intensity as they await the arrival of the Tennessee team here at Zeeland Stadium. The number one undefeated Volunteers prepare to race onto the field. Everything is riding on this football game. So there's a special intensity, a special urgency. Here come the Volunteers. Wherever you listen throughout the world, it's football time in Tennessee.
What's up, YouTubes? What's up, SEC fans all over this country, college football fans? This is a big week. This is referred to as Rivalry week, upset Saturday. There's a lot going on in college football this weekend. A lot of old rivalries, a lot of rivalries that really aren't rivalries anymore. And I want to hear from you guys. What's your favorite rivalry? We got some of y'all starting to stream in here. My Vols going over to Nashville, Neyland West, as we like to call it, and taking on Vanderbilt, who's had our number. They've had our number for a little while, but we're 75-32-5 all time in the series. And I've got a special guest, a young man named Jared Rifkin. He's one of the biggest Vandy fans. Well, I'd have to say he is the biggest Vandy fan I know of. He's a good kid. He's all over Facebook. And I've got my host, Couch Coach, with us. But the phone lines are open, the Allied Oil and Tire hotlines, and you can call us at 855-489-7623. And we want to hear from y'all. This show is built on you, the fans. I don't mind a little trash talking. We're going to have to watch, no bad language or anything like that. But we've got Jared, big Vandy fan. I've known him for a little while on Facebook, and I'd like to introduce him to the Volunteer Roadshow. How you doing, Jared?
I'm doing good, sir.
So tell me something, Jared. Where does this Tennessee Vanderbilt rivalry rank with you as a Vanderbilt fan?
Having number one. I mean, it's an in-state rivalry. It's an in-state rivalry, but it's also an in-conference rivalry, which I think when Tennessee fans say this isn't really a rivalry anymore, it's just kind of being facetious a little bit.
Yeah. Well, what other rivalries does Vanderbilt have that ranks real high on your list? Is there any other teams you just don't like and you just want to beat more than anything?
South Carolina. South Carolina is all about like the way their fans are, and I hate the way the fans act. And because I went to a game in Columbia, and it was the worst experience I've ever been at a college football game. But then there's other rivalries I don't hate the fans so much, like Vandy Georgia is a rivalry, even though we haven't beat Georgia a lot. It started back when Vandy originally started playing football, including also the Kentucky game is similar with that. I don't hate either of those two fan bases.
Yeah. What do you expect? I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to give you my opinion, and then Mr. Reality's going to come knocking on both of our doors and set us straight, Couch Coach. But how do you see this game going realistically?
Realistically, I think Tennessee won't be able to stop Vandy's offense. Just looking on what's happened this season, I don't think Vandy be able to stop. I said the wrong thing. I don't think Tennessee will be able to stop Keyshawn Vaughn. I don't think they'll be able to slow Sherman down at all. I do think Tennessee will be able to keep it close for a while, but I think Vandy will pull it out maybe 45-34.
45-34. You think both offenses can score that much? I don't know. I tell you what, I think it's going to be a good game. I think we have a lot to play for as Tennessee fans. Jeremy Pruitt talked about pride. We've got some play for pride one time. And this is the 6-6 bowl. Whoever wins this game goes 6-6 and goes to a bowl game. Now, me personally, I think you ought to have a winning record, and 6-6 is technically not a winning record, but I'll take the bowl game. I never thought I would see the day where I would be worried about Vanderbilt, and that's the way I've been as a Tennessee fan the last few years, the last 4, 5, 6 years. It's been that way. I think y'all are 4 out of the last 6 against us, but it's going to be a great game. I mean, I think that I think there's a lot of unknowns in this game. I don't know. Maybe some of y'all in the comments section, or better yet, call in and talk to me. I want to hear from you. How's the quarterback situation with Tennessee? Is Garantano playing? Is Chris playing? I know Garantano got knocked out. I think he had a concussion, but I haven't been able to follow up on that. And I can't watch the live chat like I would like to, and I appreciate everybody that's checking in on us. But I think we're going to win it. You know what I'm going to say, Jared. I think we're going to win it. I think we're tired of this. We're just tired of Vandy beating us, and it's going to end. It's going to end Saturday, and it's going to return to normal of the Tennessee Vanderbilt rivalry. And I like you. I think you're a great kid, but Vanderbilt's going to go back to being our little brother. That's all there is to it. I don't know. How do you see it, Couch Coach?
Yeah, it's very interesting on that Vanderbilt-Tennessee game because I would say for the last 15 years, ever since Bobby Johnson's been there, it has become more competitive. I mean, obviously before that, Tennessee was owning them on the regular. And then if you go way, way, way back, Vanderbilt, in the turn of last century, had some really good teams. But I would say that, especially from James Franklin on and Bobby Johnson, that whole group, Vanderbilt's, gotten some pretty decent teams in there. Now, I'm not saying they're the most talented group you're going to see, but they do play well. They do play hard. Tennessee, they're just that was a bad loss last weekend. There's just no way to slice that. If it was a close loss like you guys had to South Carolina, it would be kind of a different story. But the way I see it, even though Vanderbilt's favored by like 3.5, 4, I kind of look at it as a toss-up. I think it's two pretty evenly matched teams. I think Tennessee is going to come there a little more focused than they did last week for some reason. I just think they had some bad turnovers, but it's going to be close. I think Vanderbilt has the more established program right now. I think they have a more established commodity at quarterback. Shermer has had his ups and downs, but I just like him a little bit more than Garantano. But I think the overall athleticism of Tennessee is a little bit better than Vanderbilt. So if I'm going to lean one way or the other, I'm going to say Tennessee on the line and at that 3.5, and just kind of see how it plays out.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad analysis, except for we're going to win, Couch Coach. It's all there is to it. We're going to a bowl game. That's the only thing that, this. If you're going to lean, I don't know. I'm not leaning. I'm all in. Bet the house. I know I said it last week. Bet the house. We don't condone gambling your last penny away. But if you are down to your last dollar, I'd put it down on Tennessee. That's all there is to it. But we're going to go to the phone lines, and I want to hear from you guys. I've got somebody calling in from North Kakalaki over in the Tar Heel, and we're going to catch him and go and come back and talk about some of these rivalry games. But call the Allied Oil and Tire hotline at 855-489-7623, and I want to hear from you. But let's go on over to North Kakalaki and see what we got. You're on with Catfish and Couch Coach and a little bit of a delusional Vanderbilt fan. What you got for us?
Hey. Well, my opinion, I think Tennessee will win this football game. They need it for pride, number one, and number two, recruiting, just to show that this program is heading in the right direction under Jeremy Pruitt. That's a couple things I want to touch on.
Well, I think we're going to win too, and I said it in my intro that we're going to win this for pride. But all joking aside, Vanderbilt has had our number the last 4, 5, 6 years. I'm a fan. I'm supposed to say we're going to win. Would I be shocked if Vanderbilt beat us? No, I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be upset, but I wouldn't be shocked. But you know, have you heard about the quarterback situation with Garantano going out?
I've heard it's still up in the air, and then I've heard he'll be fine to play. I'm not sure, you know, on what I've seen on Facebook at least.
Well, I can't see the live chat to see if anybody answered me on what I said about what's going on with our quarterback. But I don't know. I just think, like you said, with pride, and we need it more.
Yeah, and I hope they go in, you know, more focused than what I've seen at that Missouri game. I don't know, that Missouri game was
oh man, they beat us every
that was
way
horrible,
they could beat
man.
us. Yeah.
If I may interject,
and, you know,
speaking on Tennessee's quarterback situation, I know I saw Jeremy Pruitt talk about this. He said he gets the same reps as Garantano does on offense, which I don't necessarily find that true, because then there would be more communication between the starting lineup and Killer Crisp, which obviously wasn't there in the Missouri game. But I think if you have Garantano starting, I don't know if that's going to be necessarily good for Tennessee, because he holds onto the ball a little too much. The offensive line isn't the best, so he gets stacked and has to come out a lot. Killer Crisp, on the other hand, is a gunslinger. Accuracy is off the walls, which was already established when he was at Stanford. But he does have a good deep ball and stuff like that. But I don't think Vandy's pass defense is pretty decent in terms of SEC play. They've been burned on the run. So I think if you're a Tennessee fan and you're wanting to win this game, you're going to have to rely on the run game. But I don't know how well the offensive line is going to hold up against Vandy's front seven.
Yeah, that offensive line, it needs help. He's got to recruit some players that could, you know, protect the quarterback, you know, and like what we saw against Missouri. Like, I don't know. The offensive line needs more bodies, basically.
It's like it's better to give a scholarship to a 5-star offensive lineman than a 5-star wide receiver.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Jared. What is your fondest memory in this rivalry? I'm sure it's a victory. It has to be. Which one was it? 6 years ago, or how long have you been following Vanderbilt? What's your fondest memory of this Tennessee-Vanderbilt rivalry?
My fondest memory is when we beat Yale in 2016, became bowl eligible when we won 45-34, because I was actually at that game because my dad has had season tickets for 23 years, since 1996. So ever since then, he's had season tickets, and I went to the Tennessee game. It was my first ever Tennessee game that I went to. And I just remember having a blast while I was there, especially the after game, after we won. I remember us actually being competitive in the game, and then we actually took a victory, and our defense shut y'all down after Joshua Dobbs was doing what he was doing in the first half. But then our defense kind of settled in, settled down, our offense started clicking more. And I think that really was a turning point as a program as a general, because Shermer was obviously starting to play better, and that translated into 2017, where Shermer was a lot more accurate, was a lot more into games, and was passing us to victories. And I think that's transferred why he's been a better quarterback this year. And speaking of the rivalry in general, Shermer has played very well against Tennessee. I believe his all-time stats against Tennessee are between 65 and 75% completion percentage. I didn't really look at that. I believe that's what it is, though. And then he has almost 1,000 yards passing and 8 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in the 3 games he's played. And it's 2-1 against Tennessee.
Well, there you go. Hello?
Are we in on another call, or do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, I think we had a technical difficulty there. Technical difficulty.
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I had it on mute. Jared,
Bro.
I had it on mute. I hit the cough mute and forgot to take it off mute. But those stats you mentioned, those stats are going to go way down this Saturday. But Matthew, I appreciate you calling. I see you got your shirt. I saw it on Facebook, Volunteer Roadshow T-shirt. I'm glad you liked it. But I've got some other callers going on, and we're going to get on to some other rivalries we're going to talk about. So thanks for calling, buddy.
All right, Catfish.
Well, let's talk about some other rivalries out there. I don't think the Florida State rivalry, man, has that gone downhill. That used to be a great rivalry. That used to determine a lot going into the postseason. There's not much there. Florida State is just awful. Could Willie Taggart be the first coach to be fired after 1 year? Is that possible? Because they've got talent.
I don't think so. I don't think he's going to get fired after this year, but I have heard some reports that the administration at FSU wants him to relieve the play calling duties. So that's one of those kind of moves that we're preparing to fire you, get the offense worked out kind of deals. But I don't think he gets let go after year one. I just don't.
Yeah.
You got to give a coach a couple of years. Like, obviously, especially if it may be like a different system or something like that. For example, Chad Morris at Arkansas, I don't think there's any reason you should fire him because he's got to get his players in there, be able to trust him and stuff like that. So I don't think any coach after 1 year deserves to be fired.
Yeah, I agree with that. But they had some talent, and it was really disappointing. But let's get on to the Georgia Tech game. Does Georgia Tech have that Dumb and Dumber, we've got a chance at all? How do you see that game going?
Well, I'm looking at it. Georgia's going to be a blowout.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that's the case. But, it's interesting when you talk about Georgia Tech because I always tell people, and especially a lot of these younger Georgia fans that talk about Georgia Tech, it's like, well, it's not really that big of a rivalry anymore. I mean, they've beaten us 4 times in the last, 17, 18 years or whatever. And I always tell these kind of fans, look, Georgia Tech is our biggest rival, and let me tell you why they're our biggest rival. When you can't get your act together against Georgia Tech, you don't keep your coaching job at Georgia, and that's just the bottom line. We'll take losing records to Tennessee. We'll deal with losing streaks to Florida. We'll deal with losing streaks to Auburn. You can't get your act together against Georgia Tech, and you're gone, period. We line up and we expect to beat Georgia Tech every single year with a superior lineup every single time. So when we do lose to Georgia Tech, it's a coaching problem, right? So bearing that all in mind, 17 at home, look, we're playing them at noon, which I hate. And Georgia Tech is playing pretty good football here recently, I have to say. I mean, they start off 1-4 or something like that. They've turned their season around. But here's what I think. I think we're going to come out, sluggish like we always do in a noon game. We'll have a bunch of dumb penalties. Tech will stay with us at the, first couple quarters. But I just think the depth of Georgia's offense just wears that defense down. I mean, we're able to wear Florida down. We're able to wear Kentucky down. And both of those programs have superior defenses to Georgia Tech. I could see Tech putting about 20, 24 points on us, but I see us putting about 38, 42 on them.
So do you think that they'll cover that? Was it 17.5? Is that what I see in the point spread?
Yeah, that's going to be hard. I mean, I think we push it or maybe go a little above 17 because I just don't have faith in – I mean, Tech's defense, I just think they have a bunch of 3-star guys on that side of the ball. And I just – with the depth that Georgia has, I just think that proves itself over the course of a 4-quarter game.
Well, I think if you're playing that triple option, you're going to need some linebackers and the way you've talked about your linebackers, you're not too thrilled with them.
Well, I'm not. And the thing about that triple option, and Alabama found this out last week playing the Citadel. I mean, they're going to limit you to about 8 possessions a game. They're going to play clock. You have to make the most out of the possessions you got. So if we get 8 possessions in that game, you're looking at, at max, you can get about 56 points. So we're not going to score 56 points on them, but we could probably score about 42 on them is what I'm thinking. Again, I just don't think with the depth that, if this was 2 years ago with the team that we had, I would feel a lot more worried about this game. But with what Georgia has there from just a depth perspective on offense, I mean, even if Tech has a great day offensively and puts 31 on us, I just don't see them slowing us down enough on defense to be able to make that ultra competitive. So even if they cover, I still think Georgia puts about 38, 42 points on that defense.
And remember, when you're playing like a triple option team, you got to play assignment football.
Yep.
Can't let them break tackles. You got to be able to read where they're going. To keep track of the ball is most important. Don't let the hand off and the pitch get distracted. Always keep essentially man-on-man coverage. I know Alabama against Citadel, I thought this was funny. The Citadel will put 8 offensive linemen out there, the quarterback, and then 2 running backs. So I thought that was kind of funny that they were just like, yeah, we're just going to run the ball against you. And they were able to for halftime since it was tied 10-10, but then obviously, you know, they figured out that how to just stop them, and they did, and that was the end of the game.
Well, Bama just has such a talent differential, too. And it's the same thing. I mean, it's not quite – I mean, Tech has better talent than the Citadel. But I just think that if you're looking at the match – here's the thing about those kind of offenses, too. If you jump out 14-17 to nothing on a team like that, it's over. I mean, you're blowing them out. That's what happened against them last year. We got up 24-7. They weren't getting back in the game. Now, I agree – our linebackers aren't the best in the world. Tech's going to make their runs. They're going to make their plays because they're a better team this year than they were last year. I mean, let's just face it. And they play us pretty well in Sanford Stadium. But the question is, can Georgia Tech score 38 points, 40 points, right? Because that's what they would have to do to beat a Georgia this year. I just don't see that. I think that they score maybe about 20, 24, 27, at most 31 points. So I do not see them at any level being able to stop our offense over the course of a 4-quarter game. I just don't see it.
Remember, they put 66 up on Louisville.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, Louisville, man. I mean, people put 70 points, 60 points on those guys. I mean, that.
They're not a good
that's
team.
a little bit better than Louisville, man.
For sure, any defense is just about better than Louisville's.
We're gonna go to the phone lines. We've got a caller, and after that, we're gonna talk about the Iron Bowl and some other games. Ohio State, Michigan, that's an intriguing game. USC, Notre Dame, and both of those out-of-conference rivalries have playoff implications. But we're going to go to the great state of Tennessee, the Volunteer State, and you're on with Catfish and Couch Coach and the Vandy fan, Jared. What you got?
How y'all doing tonight?
Good. How about you?
Doing that
Good.
Pretty good. There was one game that I wanted to talk about in particular. It was outside of the SEC, but it might possibly hold some playoff implications, and that's the Washington State game in the Apple Cup. That Washington State's playoff hopes are already slim as it is, but I think that's a must-win for them, and Washington's got a good team. I don't know what they're doing this year, but that first game of the season against Auburn, I'm pretty sure Washington was favored to win that game. And I think if they could get a convincing win like they did over Arizona, that could potentially help their playoff chances.
Absolutely, and I'm looking at the spread right now, and it's -2.5 Washington State at home. And I got to say that even though Washington has had a disappointing season this year, at 2.5, 3, I kind of like Washington in that one. I think that I think Washington's looking towards next year. When you look at the kind of recruiting classes that they've had and kind of what things are setting up, it kind of feels to me that Washington's really good year, even though everyone was really thinking they could do some damage this year. I'm almost thinking that 2019 will be a better year for the Huskies, mainly because they got a guy named Jacob Eason who's just been warming up over there, and he might get the opportunity to be the starter for Washington next year. So I think it's important for Washington to have that momentum of this kind of game, get a good bowl game, a bowl win to go about 10-3, and then take that and go into next season where they can really do some damage, I believe.
I think that Washington State's going to win the game because I've seen Washington State play and I've seen Washington play. And Auburn is an okay team this year. They're not like last year where they won the SEC West. But they're a little bit downer this year. So I don't think that's necessarily a good loss for Washington, which kind of set them on the course for what kind of season they have. And I think right now Washington State is just a much better coached football team and a much better team in general as of right now. I do think Washington will get better as next season goes on, and they'll do damage with Jacob Eason. But I don't see that this year.
Yeah, it only took one game for me in that 2016 game against Jacob Eason to know that that kid has got a crazy talented arm, and seeing how far he can throw that ball, and it just looked effortlessly to him.
Yeah, kind of looked like a Brett Favre, but yeah, a little bit inaccurate at times.
Yeah, I think that the Alabama-Auburn game, on paper, Alabama should win probably by a lot, but I think Auburn will try to keep it close at least until the third quarter or so. I'm predicting that'll be close.
Is it Auburn or Tuscaloosa?
Tuscaloosa.
I think it's in Tuscaloosa.
Okay. I wouldn't even pick an upset in that game. I'd take Alabama to win and probably cover the spread. What's the spread on the game?
It's 24.5.
I'd take Auburn to cover it.
Well, see, here's the thing about that game, and this is about Auburn in general, is they don't tend to play when they know they have kind of an off year like they're having. That team just doesn't get up to play, and you can have the best defense in the world, but man, if you can't score points, that's a real problem. And I think Jared Stidham has really regressed this year. I think the guy has mailed it in. They're scoring like 6, 7, 10 points a game. You're just not going to beat a team of Alabama's caliber playing that kind of, offensive output. Now, it's a rivalry game. Could, some silly things like a triple reverse happen and stuff like that, of course. But over the course of a 4-quarter game, I think Alabama's going to prove themselves. That being said, and I have said this at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to keep saying this to Alabama fans and everybody else, the back end of that schedule for Alabama does not do them any favors when you have to play an LSU, a Mississippi State, an Auburn, and then a Georgia in an SEC championship game. And when you have to play an Auburn and a Georgia in back-to-back weeks, that's not the same thing as playing a Florida team that doesn't have an offense, or playing a Missouri team with a bunch of 3-star players. You're playing a Georgia team that's kind of hitting their stride at a good time. They're coming into, they're getting healthy. You're playing an Auburn team that really didn't have anything to lose. They're going to play you physical. So it wouldn't so shock me if Auburn covered the line a little bit, but as far as winning the game, they just don't have enough ability to score points, in my opinion, to even make that.
It'd be like every other SEC game. It'd be like every other Alabama SEC game where the team is just worn out with the fourth quarter just because of gap differential and talent.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, I appreciate you calling. I'm going to go grab another call or two, but get ready. This weekend, we're going to a bowl game. We're beating Vanderbilt. And
no, you're not.
Yes, we are, Jared. So
no.
Thanks for calling. I'm going to go to grab another call, but I think, my opinion, I don't even think it's going to be close between Alabama and Auburn. I think Alabama, they had their wake-up call. A lot of teams, will lose and get the crud out of them. I think that was this Citadel game. I think Saban and the boys down in Tuscaloosa are going to lay the wood to Auburn, and I'm talking big, 35, 40 points. That's my opinion. You're on with Catfish and Couch Coach and Jared, a Vandy fan. What you got?
How you doing, Catfish, the Vols General?
Hey, buddy. I don't want you coming on here again talking about how you're worried about Vanderbilt and like you did with Missouri. None of that. None of this. None of this crap. You want to hear the truth, or what? You want me to tell you what you want to hear? None of that. We're beating Vanderbilt, aren't we?
Nope.
All right. So, if you recall last week, I called you and I said we were not going to beat Missouri, and I thought it was going to get ugly. Now, I was right. I am very good with my season predictions. So far, I was only wrong once, and that was the Florida game. And look, I'm just being real with you. We're going to blow this team out. Vanderbilt is not good. I don't see any way we lose this game. My prediction's 38-10. I don't see any way Vanderbilt competes with Tennessee this year.
You can't be serious, man. You can't be serious, man.
Derek Mason, not a good head coach. Derek Mason not gonna beat Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt 1,000 times better coach than Jeremy Pruitt. Derek Mason. Tennessee, better players than Vanderbilt. And
that's debatable. That is 100% debatable. I do not agree if Tennessee has better players than Vandy. All right, let's just think about this by position standpoint. Who has a better quarterback? Tennessee obviously has a worse quarterback in talent-wise and in experience-wise. Sure is a much better QB than Chris and Garrett Donald probably combined. Their running backs, they're okay, but they're not a Keyshawn Vaughn, which is kind of like a Benny Snell. I believe Keyshawn has 140 carries for 1,000
yards versus
No, he won't.
And
You cannot be serious. The dude couldn't run for 200 yards against.
The defense will shut what's his name down. Your quarterback back there, Kyle Schumer.
You somehow have a worse defense than you did last year, which is sometimes surprising.
That's not even true, bud. That's not even remotely true.
Okay,
I think
defense is a million times better.
I think our defense.
Not even up for debate. There.
I don't want the calls to get out of hand. I think our defense is better than last year. We were horrible last year. We were horrible at every position last year. But anyway, what else you got, Ball General? What else? What bowl are we going to? We going to the Sugar Bowl or the Rose Bowl? What bowl are we going to?
Hold on, one sec. How many points we give it to Vandy last year? 40 something.
Yeah.
You gave up 42 to Vandy.
42-24. I guarantee you, we will not give up more than 20 this game. And to answer your question, Catfish, I got us going to the Liberty Bowl. I don't think that's going to be up for debate. No way the Liberty Bowl, if we're 6-6, is going to pass up a huge fan base and market like Tennessee. I just don't see it happening. What's your prediction there, Catfish?
I think it's going to be Music City Bowl, Liberty Bowl. I think it'll be a bowl that's real close. But it's going to be a bowl game. It's going to be a bowl game. Yeah. We're going 6-6. Vanderbilt, we're getting back to where we need to be, and it's starting this week. We're going to start another 20-something year streak on Vanderbilt. But
you'll probably start next year, but not this year. Vandy's you guys have a lot of young players. But Vandy's got a lot more experience on both sides of the ball. Vandy has a senior quarterback. We got senior wide receivers. We've got a good running back who's much better than probably both of Tennessee running backs. Our offensive line is very experienced, definitely better than Tennessee's line. Our defense is a lot more experienced. We got a lot of seniors on defense. Juwan Williams is a shutdown corner. I'm pretty sure he'll take Callaway or whoever he's on out of the game. And then Darius White is underrated safety. He doesn't always have the perfect tackling, but he's always in good coverage. And against Ole Miss, that shine where he was form tackling, had a pick that was very crucial in the red zone. And then our linebackers and our front four are very good at getting pressure against bad offensive lines. We were able to get a lot of pressure on teams like Georgia's offensive line's been shaky. We got a decent amount of pressure on Georgia. And some of the non-conference teams we've been able to get a lot of pressure on. I don't think Tennessee's O-line will be able to hold up to Vandy's front seven. And you will be trying to run the ball, but the way that you guys have been able to run the ball this year, you're not very good O-line. Has not been working out because I think Ty Chandler and whatever their other running back's name is, they each have like 100-something carries for only about 450 yards, which is almost averaging like 3 yards a carry, getting close to that, like 3.5 yards a carry. And Keyshawn Vaughn, with the more experienced line, is about the same amount of carries as both of them, but almost has 1,000 yards, and he didn't even play the first 3 games of the season. So I think the talent gap there is just extremely different right now. You guys probably will be better than Vandy in a couple of years, but as of right now, Vandy is a much more better team. I'd even say a much better coach team at the moment. Vandy is much better than Tennessee. Let's think about this one. We barely lost We barely lost to Florida. Y'all got smoked by Florida. We lost on the road by 5.
Now, I've got to say something here. Hold on, Horse. This particular season, I appreciate you calling, Vol General, but I've got another call. This particular season has been weird. You used to be able to gauge, we beat them, they beat them, by 4 or whatever. But it's been weird. We shellacked Kentucky, and Kentucky beat Missouri. And there's just a lot of examples like that this year, and it's just, and we have a chance of having 5 or 6 bowl eligible teams just in the SEC East this year, which is, I don't know if that's a record or not, but we're going to go to the phone lines. We got an 803 area code. You're on with Catfish and Couch Coach and a Vandy fan that says they're beating Tennessee this year. What you got?
Tennessee's gonna beat Vanderbilt.
Well, tell me why. I agree with you, but tell me why.
Their defense is horrible.
Who is?
We're just horrible, okay.
You gave up 37 to South Carolina.
What?
What did you say? Say that again, caller.
Yeah. You gave up 37 to South Carolina.
Okay. Different time in the season. Y'all played them at the very end of the season. We played them at the very beginning of the year after we lost in South Bend to Notre Dame by 5, and it was a different time. Not to mention the terrible rain and the weather in Nashville that weekend was absolutely terrible. Let's not forget the fact that you blew a 17-point lead at home to South Carolina. Let's not forget that.
Well, caller, I appreciate you calling.
No.
I've got to make this. I've got to make this show a little bit shorter than normal. What else we got to talk about, Couch Coach? Let's get this show back on the rails.
Yes, sir. But we got that big game that's important to Delusional Paul, which is Ohio State and Michigan, which is probably the biggest game of Saturday, if you really want to be honest about it. I mean, it's really going to affect the top four and how that looks. And right now, Michigan is favored by -3.5, -4, depending on what bookie you're using there. And I got to tell you that I know that you like to heckle Paul and things like that, but if you're Michigan, you got to play well to win this game. And I know that Ohio State has not played well, and especially that defense of theirs has been struggling. But I got to tell you that, Ohio State has had this team's number, and if Michigan can't just go in there and think, oh, we're going to win this game. Like, they have to make plays to win this game, or Ohio State can absolutely beat them. So it's going to be an interesting game. I still feel that Michigan's going to pull it out, but I don't think it's going to be the blowout that a lot of people think. Yeah. And in defense of Delusional Paul, I'm shocked at the lack of this respect that Ohio State's getting as a 10-1 football team here. So, let's look at it from that perspective, not the fact that they struggle with Nebraska and all these other kind of things, but they're playing at home. They got a playoff berth on the line. They would love nothing more than to ruin Michigan's season. So Michigan has to go out there and make plays, but I think that they're going to win it just like a 34-31 kind of game. I think it's going to be a great game, and I hope that that's going to be the one that really kicks off this rivalry weekend.
I'm going to go with the home upset. I'm going to pick Ohio State to beat Michigan. I think Ohio State's offense is very much underrated. And I know Shea Patterson and the Michigan offense has been clicking, but I don't think against a much better team that they're going to be able to click. Remember, he's been clicking against very bad teams like – I don't remember who they played last week. Penn State was below average this year. Not a good team, not a bad team. They were just kind of right in the middle as they lost to Ohio State on probably the worst play of the season. And then they got blown out by Michigan. And I just think that Ohio State at home in front of their own home crowd with that offense, that defense is going to play a little bit better. And they're going to – that Maryland game was a wake-up call after they almost lost in overtime. Thank God for a terrible pass from Maryland's quarterback. But I think Ohio State comes out with some power and knocks Big Ten out of the playoffs.
Well, I don't know. I'm low on that. I'm low on their defense. I think Ohio State's defense is horrible. I think that, and I think what Catfish has been saying this year has been right about that. I mean, Ohio State. I mean, if you're talking about talent, I mean, they're one of the top 4 talented teams in the country. I mean, there's no debate on that. But from an organizational standpoint, just from a lot of stuff that's been going on behind the scenes from the get-go, with Urban Meyer being suspended the first 4 games of the season, I mean, the guy has one foot out the door. I think there's just a lot of organizational problems there that are keeping this team from moving forward. And what I have to question is, does Urban Meyer and all these guys have the intestinal fortitude that even if they beat a Michigan, do they have enough in them to go through a 4-game playoff and pull off a national title? And my answer is no. I don't think they have that in them.
Oh, not at all.
So I think that I still lean towards Michigan. I just think Michigan's playing better football. But I think it's going to be a whale of a game, and Ohio State is going to give them all they can handle. And it's, Michigan better be prepared to play, because if they're not, you're absolutely right. Ohio State can win that game and ruin their season.
If Ohio State makes the playoffs, they're going to be beaten by just about anyone except maybe Notre Dame that they play. If they play Alabama, they'll get torched. If they play Georgia, they'll get torched. If they play Clemson, they're going to get torched. Just about anyone they play, they'll get beat up against.
Yep.
Well, we had Crying Ryan on. I was just fixing to go to him, but he hung up. I think he's scared to talk about the Florida game. Oh, here he is calling back. Let's see if he's worried about this Florida game. How bad is Florida State Seminoles going to beat the Gators Saturday, Ryan?
How bad are they going to beat us by negative 12 points?
Negative.
That's what it's going to be. I tell you, we ain't letting out. We walking into Tallahassee, we kicking them straight in the mouth, and we walking out.
I'm going to pick Florida State to win.
You're picking Florida State to win?
Yeah, I'm picking the upset in this one. I'm picking a lot of upsets this week. I'm going to pick Florida State or Florida. The way that Florida State played against Boston College was a little bit better, and it's at home, and it's a rivalry weekend. I think they do just enough to beat Florida. Not to mention, a lot of teams have shown how you beat Florida. Like Vandy almost beat Florida. You get turnovers, and you actually sustain drives on offense until Florida decides to cheat, but that's okay. Georgia's manhandled Florida. You just keep their offense off the field, get Franks under pressure. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. And you just shut their offense down, keep their defense on the field, wear them out, and you can eventually beat them. It's not that hard to do.
It's not that hard to beat Florida State. Their offensive line is still garbage, and I think our defensive line will take advantage of that and just absolutely manhandle Francois in the backfield all game.
Well, so hearing both of you guys talk, here's what I think. I think it's going to be an absolutely horrible game to watch. I think it's going to be penalty-filled, and I think it's going to be Florida wins this game like 20-16 or something like that. So
I have the same exact feeling.
Couch Coach was like laughing when he was saying that. It's like an awful game. Everything's going to be awful. Stadium's awful. Fans are awful. Everything's awful.
Well, I just call it like I see it, my man. I call it like I see it.
Well, Ryan. Will you call me if I do a post game call-in show Saturday? I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to with all the holidays, but we'll call back. I've got your Gators winning. I think they're going to win by about 14 points. How do you like that? You get a tiki totem. You get a tiki totem from me. Did you get it, by the way?
Oh, yeah, and it looks much better than that other one I got.
No, it ain't much better than the Tennessee one. Not even close. Not even close. But, you got Catfish picking your team to win by 14. You get a Florida Gator tiki totem, and I always love it when you call in. But I got Matt Dowds calling in on the other line, and I've got to grab him, and I appreciate you calling, buddy. And go Gators.
No problem, man. Yeah.
Don't let me down
Go
now.
Seminoles.
We're going to go to the Nashville area. That mute button keeps messing up on me. And talk to Matt. Matt, what you got for Catfish and Couch Coach? And some young kid thinks that Vanderbilt's going to beat Tennessee. What do you got?
Well, I know the Vandy kid you're talking to, Jared. And all I gotta say, Jared, is get ready to sing Rocky Top Saturday night. So I know you got a bet with somebody. So go ahead and get prepared to learn the words to Rocky Top, Jared.
You're the same group diamond.
I mean, Jared, I'll get you on my page sometime this week, and we'll trash talk. But still, it's Tennessee Vandy. Tennessee owns Vandy. And you can say y'all have beat us, 2 out of the last 3, 3 out of the last 4. historically, y'all do not compare to what we are. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. I'm pulling the trigger on it. And, Jared, I'm just telling you, y'all are going to lose to our second stadium that we have in Neyland West at Dudley Field. I'm just telling you.
Before you go, give me a good reason why Vandy is going to lose to Tennessee. Just give me a good reason.
Oh, well, I want to tell you something. The reason that I think these boys that are coming in, Pruitt was pissed off during his press conference the other day. And I think really deep down, Pruitt's going to get these guys motivated to win come Saturday.
You don't think Mason is?
Your offense that you have, we can stop you, okay? Granted, Shermer is a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's he's not one of the top half at best in the conference. But we've got our secondary is getting better each game. And we've got guys that can cover your guys. Now, granted, against Mizzou, they've got some really good receivers. But your receivers don't match up to those of Florida, Bama, Georgia, or even Mizzou. I'm just being honest.
Our receivers do match up to Florida. Not Florida. I'm going to tell you right now. Your secondary is improving. But the way Drew Lock just torched y'all, by the way, Shermer is going to play on Sunday. He's a much better quarterback than you're talking of. I believe he's fourth in the SEC in passing yards, and then he has 20 touchdowns on the year, which I believe is ranking in the top 5 still. But your secondary is getting better, but I don't think your corners are going to be able to cover Lipscomb, especially Pinckney. Pinckney's a mismatch for no matter who covers him because he is very athletic, very tall, has very good hands with the football. Not to mention, Keyshawn Vaughn. The closest running back comparison you have to him is Snell and Swift. He's a combination of Swift with his speed and a combination of Snell's physical in a good way, but not as good as either one of those. Problem with the way you guys shut down Snell is that Snell was overworked throughout the year. Shermer's passing game, along with Keyshawn's running, is a mismatch for most defenses because Keyshawn only has 140 carries for almost 1,000 yards. Shermer has, I think, 340 attempts for almost 2,500 yards. 2,500 yards. So it's just that comparison where it's like it's a much different team than what you're facing based on what's on paper. So I don't think y'all are going to be able to stop Shermer a lot and Keyshawn keep him off the field.
I just don't see it. Shermer's throwing, 9 or 10 picks on the year. We've got
6.
Well, it doesn't matter because we got a freshman who's got as many picks as Eric Berry did in his freshman year in 3. So I think that's going to be a big thing. I think, honestly, though, Jared, I'll be honest with you. As much crap that I talk about Vanderbilt, I do respect you guys for what you guys have done here in the past couple of seasons. But at the same time, y'all are still our little brother, Jared.
Oh, I absolutely know that. That's why whenever I talk Tennessee fans, I call you our sick brother because you're playing down to us and losing to us. So I call you our sick brother, as in like the little brother's taking care of this big brother.
No,
in that sense.
Jared, you don't understand. Tennessee's football program right now is struggling. You beat a Butch Jones coach team twice. And look how Butch Jones did. Derek Dooley, his last year, y'all every time y'all have beaten Tennessee, except for 2016, has been based on a down Tennessee football team. Is this Tennessee team really that bad? No, they're better than what they are. They're still learning under Pruitt. But I'm just going to be honest with you, Jared. I still think Tennessee goes down to Neyland West at Dudley Field and pulls it out Saturday. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be low scoring. Y'all should have lost Ole Miss on Saturday night. And I think y'all are going to get your hopes up, and we're going to come in pissed off and take it out, and we're going to do a bowl while y'all sit at home again.
I don't know why you're saying sitting at home again. You sat at home last year, so I think y'all are going to sit at home again.
No, I don't think so, Jared. I mean, honestly, though, Jared, y'all beat a team last year that was 4-8. Anybody could beat us last year.
That's true.
How many ranked teams? I mean, like, seriously, Tennessee's beaten 2 top 25 teams. Y'all haven't done that this year.
Okay, and Auburn overlooked y'all, and Kentucky's not very good. We've already proven Kentucky.
Well, I mean, still, y'all should have beat Kentucky, honestly. Y'all should have beat Kentucky.
I know, but that was all offensive play calling in that game. Andy Ludwig, I'm going to say this right now, Andy Ludwig is a terrible offensive play caller. That's why I say he should be gone. Even if we go to a bowl game and beat Tennessee, he should be gone this year because a lot of losses are based off of his trash play calling, which is why we lost to Florida, why we lost to Kentucky, and a lot of bad calls were why we lost to Missouri, especially that when we got first and goal from the 3 and we came away with nothing.
But still, weren't y'all up at one point like 21-3 on Florida? So I look at that as y'all's defense cost y'all that game too.
I call it Florida's players are dirty because they literally intentionally went after Vaughn because Vaughn had 8 touches for 150 yards in the first 2 quarters. And then they deliberately had 2 guys bash straight into his knee. Thank God he didn't tear his ACL. He had a knee sprain and we had a bye and then we played Kentucky, so he was out for 2 weeks. But he got hurt in that game, didn't show up to Kentucky, and then we had a bye, which was great. But with him getting hurt, it relied more on Turner, and he just tried to plug in Wakefield and blasting him into that offensive system, and it didn't work so well because they're not like Vaughn.
Oh, me. This is great. This is why, you know what, Couch Coach, this is why I like college football. This is why I say it's the best sport on the planet. It's the fans. We can go at it, and you just can't beat college football. It's better than the NFL. It's better than the NBA. It's better than Major League Baseball. Of course, October gives it a little bit of a run, but my team, the Cincinnati Reds, hadn't been in it in eons, so it's better than Major League Baseball, and it's definitely better than soccer and hockey. But anyway, Matt, I appreciate you calling. Jared, I really appreciate it. I really like your passion for your team. Uncle Lou came on here and commented that Vandy owns the state of Tennessee. He likes getting things started, but that stuff's ending. All that stuff's ending. But I appreciate both of you guys calling, and good luck. But Tennessee is coming for you, Jared. So just be prepared. Don't take it personal. Don't get all upset. It's just business, okay?
You shouldn't take anything personal, no matter what it is. Shouldn't
right.
take sports personal at all.
That's
Even
right.
though if we lose, which we're not going to, people on Facebook are going to give me hell for 72 hours.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came on. You were a good sport about it, and I really appreciate it. Me and Couch Coach are going to wrap this thing up, and I'm going to hit the road.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, sir. Have a great one.
Well, what else is there? Is there anything besides the Michigan and Ohio State that has playoff implications? Do you think that USC has a chance against Notre Dame?
Well, I mean, Notre Dame's on the road at 10, favoring against USC. I mean, and the great thing about these out-of-conference kind of games is I just keep it very simple. I think that Notre Dame knows they have to keep up with the Joneses. I think that they cover that 10 convincingly. Just like they did against Syracuse. I think USC hasn't shown me anything in the last 2 years that's going to make me think that they're, big boy level. I mean, the Pac-12 is just awful football. So I think Notre Dame handles their business there. Looking locally in the SEC, I think Mississippi State's going to handle their business pretty well against Ole Miss. I think Alabama is going to handle their business against Auburn. Another game, though, I mean, and I guess this will be a blowout, I'm sure. Bobby Durkin feels the same way.
Oh, yeah.
That spread in the Clemson-South Carolina game is it started at 24.5. Now it's going to 26.5. Clemson. And I got to tell you that I think Clemson still wins it. This is my least confident pick of the weekend. I think South Carolina might cover on that 26.5. I just feel that they're a better team than what they were 2 years ago. That team that South Carolina fielded in 2016, how they won 6 games is a modern miracle. They were a horrible football team, and they beat them 56-7. And Clemson is a physical specimen of a team, like we mentioned before with Gary. But I just think that South Carolina, with the weapons they have, I mean, if you look at ways to beat Clemson, it's the ability to manufacture points through the air and to generate points on that side. And even though South Carolina's been up and down, they do have the ability to do that. So I think Clemson wins the game. I think it's a 42-28 kind of deal, and I think South Carolina makes some plays that you might not think they might because it's a rivalry game. And I think Muschamp knows he has to perform a little bit better in this game because he has not done so the last couple of years.
Where's that game at?
It is in Clemson.
Oh, well, I'm gonna say Clemson. That's write me down for taking Clemson and giving up the 24, 20, whatever it is. I think Clemson will win that, but you might be right. I mean, that's a pretty good take on the game, and I just got a feeling. The only thing that would make me have any hesitation of taking Clemson is I think they'll get up pretty big, and they're going to start resting some players and playing some other players.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm going to touch that one. I'm not touching that one. There's too much. That's what I don't like about these end of the season games. The last week, you got a lot of that rest them. I know in the NFL, I know a lot of bettors hated that because you never know who they were going to rest or whatever, getting ready for the playoffs.
Yep.
So I'm going to stay away from that one. But I guess that's about it, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I guess technically we've kind of danced around a lot of different picks, but do you want to make your official picks now for the Iron Bowl and all these other? Okay, so for the Iron Bowl, who do you got?
I've got Alabama waxing Auburn big time. I mean, you could I would give up 30 points and still take Alabama. That's just the way I feel about that one. But go ahead. What else?
Yeah, I like Alabama there too. I don't know if they totally wax them. I think it's going to be like 39-13 kind of deal. But I think they take care of Auburn. So yeah, Michigan, Ohio State. I know you're going to take Michigan here, aren't you?
I've been riding. I've been betting against Ohio State all year, and it's made me look like a genius. I'm not going to jump off that bandwagon. So mark me down for Michigan.
Fair enough. I'm going to take Ohio State on the line there, but I think Michigan wins the game. Georgia Tech. Who you got?
17.5. I think
17,
I think Georgia's going to come out and not show the playbook. I know that's kind of cliche, and
Yep.
That's a little bit of hyperbole there a little bit, but I think they're going to be resting some. They may. It just depends on how that first quarter goes, but I'm going to put my money on Georgia Tech to cover. Take the 17.5 just because of who they play next week. You might be caught looking ahead a week, resting some players, not showing all your cards. I normally wouldn't pick on that, but since you're making me pick, I'm going to take Georgia Tech and the points.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. I mean, I think that 17 for me is kind of whatever. I could totally see it be a 38-24 kind of game. But again, like I mentioned earlier in the show, I mean, for Georgia Tech to win and feel comfortable about winning this game, they're going to have to score 35 to 42 points. And Georgia's defense has only given up like 36 points, even with the bad linebacker play. I mean, the worst we've given up is 36 to LSU. I mean, most of the time we give up about 17 points a game. At absolute most, I think Georgia Tech scores 31 points in this game. But, man, that defense of theirs, no way. I think Georgia just wears them down. I don't think they're going to have any answer for Georgia's run game. Our receiving core is going to have a field day on them. I see it being about a 42-24 kind of game, Georgia. Maybe we barely cover.
Okay. What else is there?
I believe that's it, sir. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a heck of a weekend, and we'll have our big recaps as we go into championship weekend next week.
Well, I appreciate all of y'all tuning in. I appreciate Allied Oil and Tire. And remember, guys, I've been out here for over 3.5 million miles. I've seen a lot of fatal accidents in my time. I've seen a lot of them around the holidays. It's not fun. Leave early. And don't speed, don't tailgate, and arrive alive. Drive safe, and be careful out there, and have a great Thanksgiving. And I'm hopefully going to have some deviled eggs because I love deviled eggs. I could eat 2 dozen of them. But anyway, I appreciate Couch Coach and all the callers, and we're going to get on off of here so y'all know what's coming next. Thanks for tuning in. Go Vols. We're beating Vanderbilt, and we're going to a dang bowl game. I promise you that.